I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me.
Welcome to the incredibly deep psychoanalysis and virtual tour of the mind of the author of the classic book Invisible Man, written by Ralph Ellison. The voyage to the center of Ellison's perspective begins with a discussion upon the central theme of Invisible Man. Let's go check it out now! Your true identity is not based upon opinions and ideas of others, but rather self-perception. The novel takes place in New York during the 1930s, a turbulent time for race relations in America. This came with riots, murder, injustice with law enforcement, social hierarchy, and many other factors. Ellison successfully expresses these vices through the intricate characteristics of the narrator and the people he encountered. It is evident in the novel that the narrator goes through peculiar and intense situations and is forced to act upon them with submission due to the possible consequences based on the color of his skin. He changes subtly throughout the course of the plot, going from a naive, yielding college student to a loud and proud social activist, and finally, a pensive and reflective man, alienated from society. In the end of the book, the narrator realizes that his actions essentially serve no purpose in expressing his personal beliefs and decides to live in solitude and reflect on his experiences. Now moving on to the tone of the novel. I had no desire to destroy myself, even if it destroyed the machine. I wanted freedom, not destruction. It was exhausting, for no matter what the scheme I conceived, there was one constant flaw: myself. There was no getting around it. I could no more escape than I could think of my identity. Perhaps, I thought, the two things involve with one another. When I discover who I am, I'll be free. Ellison carries a firm and pensive tone throughout the course of the novel, expressing a deep understanding of himself while metaphorically comparing himself to his surroundings. This builds his character and demonstrates his talents with language and his ability to effectively communicate his perspective through words. Next, we shall discuss the diction of Invisible Man. I'd seen nothing like it before. A grinning doll of orange and black tissue paper with thin, flat cardboard discs forming its head and feet, and which some mysterious mechanism was causing to move up and down in a loose, jointed, shoulder-shaking, infuriatingly sensuous motion. A dance that was completely detached from the black, mask-like face. Again, Ellison utilizes a strong emotional appeal to his audience by conveying events through the narrator's innermost thoughts. Doing this, the author seldom directly tells the audience what exactly is going on in the story, forcing the readers to also think pensively and analyze the events through the Invisible Man's perspective. The narrator frequently uses high-level vocabulary to reiterate his thoughtfulness and clear understanding of himself. Now for syntax. I was young then, like this young fellow here. Us lived in a 2-story house alongside the river, and at night in the summertime we used to lay in bed and talk. And after she's gone off to sleep, I'd be awake looking out at the lights coming up from the water and listening to the sounds of the boats moving along. The author purposefully varies the syntax throughout the novel in order to create an emphasis on the level of education the speaker holds. In essence, Ellison will utilize strong academic vocabulary and long, complex sentence structure when quoting the words of a sophisticated white educator, but when quoting an uneducated black man in the slums of the South, he uses shortened words and choppy sentences. This essentially highlights the blatantly superficial stereotypes and conveys the ignorance of society and its inability to look past predistinguished opinions. Now for the most prominent element of Invisible Man as a piece of literature, the subtle details and symbolism. In the beginning of the novel, the narrator goes to Golden Day and encounters a prostitute with the coincidental name Hester. Not only does this express the obvious factor that she represents sex and lust, but can also be interpreted as another example of an individual who accepts herself and comes to terms with her identity, foreshadowing the resolution of the plot. Ellison also references marionette puppets several times through the course of the book, once again foreshadowing his realization that everything is not what it seems to be. His strings are pulled by the forces around him that hold more power within society, like a puppet and its puppeteer. These symbols are elements that can easily go undetected, but play a significant role in gaining a deeper understanding of the author's main purpose. To conclude this eventful exploration through the mind, we will discuss the most eminent feature of the book, which is its transcendence into future works of literature and its application to the present. An obvious element that is portrayed in the story is racism, and its effect on society as well as its effect on the individual. Ross the Exhorter's group displayed characteristics and ideas reflective of those in the Black Panther Party, which of course existed farther in time. The riots for social reform described in the novel are still prevalent today in regards to recent political conflict within the country. Invisible Man was revolutionary for its time and was significant in sparking influence for future works of literature, as well as taking a unique political standpoint. Because of its timeless theme and ability to coincide with events of all eras, including the one we live in, Invisible Man is a classic book that should be considered in great depth. I hope you come back and visit us soon for another virtual tour inside the mind of Ralph Ellison.